Next, what we're going to do, we're going to go a little bit out of order, and we'll go first with Senator Campbell on Senate Bill 342. We're doing this because she has some guests that are going to testify. Senator Campbell, you're recognized on Senate Bill 342. I believe there's no amendments. The chair will move the bill, and Senator Pody seconds it. Senator Campbell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. While there are many things we might not agree on, many of most Americans find abruptly going back and forth between daylight saving time and standard time twice a year to be extremely disruptive. Going back and forth is also unhealthy, and it puts us at risk for heart attacks, strokes, sleep loss, and car accidents. We can end daylight saving time without waiting for the federal government to pass legislation, which has been gridlocked in D.C., and the way we can do this is to do what Arizona and Hawaii have done and opt out of daylight saving time and go to year-round standard time. More than 20 medical, scientific, and civic organizations support eliminating daylight saving time and going to year-round standard time, including the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, and the National Safety Council. While Tennessee did pass a year-round daylight saving time bill in 2019, this 2019 legislation requires federal action to take effect. Our proposed legislation can coexist with the 2019 bill and does not require federal action. We will coordinate our efforts with neighboring states to prevent any regional confusion. This law will go into effect only when Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, and North Carolina exempt themselves. There is no fiscal note associated with ending daylight saving time. It's an easy way to help Tennesseans at no charge. This is a nonpartisan issue. Across the nation, both Republicans and Democrats have come out in favor of ending daylight saving time. This is an issue we can work together on across the aisle and get a simple win for Tennesseans. We tried year-round daylight saving time in the 70s to save energy, and it was a failure. And not only did it not save energy, but parents were concerned about dark mornings, and there were fatalities in children trying to get to school in the dark. East Tennesseans who live in the Eastern time zone experience even darker mornings in the late fall and early spring, and light far too late in the evenings, particularly in summer months. Chattanooga sunrise would be delayed to 8:49 a.m. during the first 2 weeks of January if we adopted year-round daylight saving time. The biggest advantage of daylight saving time is that it provides an extra hour of light in the late afternoon or evening, depending on time of year, for sports, shopping, and eating outside. However, we pay a price for taking light away from the morning hours. We have a sleep medicine physician and expert on this subject here to speak today. She'll be able to provide you with more detail about the science behind how these clock changes impact us in negative ways and why she and the majority of the medical community support the move to permanent standard time.
Thank you very much, Senator Campbell. I know we've got Dr. Malow here. You can make your way up to the witness. Oh, okay. Yeah, just come up at the same time. We're going to go out of session to hear this. What we do ask is for the witnesses to identify who they are, who they're with. Be sure your microphone is on, and we do time you, and I'll try to give you a 20-second warning. You'll have 3 minutes as an expert, and we'll give you 2 minutes. So Dr. Malow, you're recognized.
On or?
No, it's on.
Is it on now? Great. Thank you so much, Chairman Briggs, Vice Chairman Wally and Pody, distinguished members of this committee. I really appreciate the opportunity to testify today in support of Senate Bill 342. I'm Dr. Beth Malow. I'm a practicing neurologist. I direct the Vanderbilt Sleep Division, and my views expressed do not necessarily reflect that of my employer. Like me, you may be feeling the fatigue from last weekend's outdated ritual of changing our clocks, which contributes to sleep loss and an uptick in heart attacks, arrhythmias, strokes, medical errors, traffic accidents. This bill, which would put Tennessee on year-round standard time in coordination with neighboring states, is the healthiest choice for Tennesseans. As you heard, many of us do enjoy the extended light in the late afternoons and evenings provided by daylight saving time, but it comes at a price to our health. Daylight saving time robs us of the morning light in the spring and fall, and year-round daylight saving time would add even more darkness to winter mornings. Morning light is optimized by standard time. Morning light is healthier because it aligns our brains and bodies with the outside world. Morning light wakes us up, boosts our mood, allows us to sleep better at night, and a good night's sleep promotes healthy weight, fights heart disease, diabetes, depression, boosts our immune system, and improves productivity. Year-round daylight saving time would result in very dark mornings in the winter, especially in cities on the western part of the Eastern Time Zone, such as Chattanooga, Kingston, and Knoxville, which would not see sunrise until almost 9 a.m. in January. That's not healthy. It has a direct impact on our sleep. Many schools start classes before 8 a.m., meaning sleep-deprived children and teens would be walking and driving to school in the dark. The health, wellness, safety, and productivity of many essential workers, including farmers, teachers, healthcare providers, police officers, and firefighters, would be affected. We tried year-round daylight saving time in 1974 during the Middle East oil embargo, and many of us got to experience daylight saving time in the winter. It was very unpopular with Americans, did not save energy, and was repealed early. Let's not make that mistake again. Opting out of daylight saving time, staying on standard time year-round is the healthiest choice for Tennessee. Tennessee can lead the way within our region toward ending the antiquated ritual of changing our clocks. Please vote to support this Senate bill. Thank you.
Good. You had 10 seconds, so you hit it just right on the nose, so good. Okay, what we'll do, we'll let our other witness testify, and then if we have any questions from the committee members, and do thank you for coming and bringing your expertise. So you're recognized. Be sure your microphone's on, identify who you are, and then you're recognized to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Briggs and the rest of the subcommittee members. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Matthew Horsnell, and I am a person living with narcolepsy and cataplexy. I also have a comorbid diagnosis of sleep apnea. In that regard, I actually represent 1 in 5 adult Americans who live with sleep apnea. As many as 1 in 5 Americans overall also live with a sleep disorder. Waking up for me is by far the hardest part of my day. The best natural intervention that I can take is to actually get morning sunlight. And what this bill would help us to do is to ensure that I have access to that morning sunlight throughout the year. There's ways that I can treat my condition with medication. I can be CPAP compliant, but there's really nothing that can change not having to wake up in the dark for multiple hours. As a dad of 3, I can speak to the impact that it's had on my kids, and I can say that literally for the first month after the transition, particularly in the spring forward and the start of daylight savings time, my life gets turned upside down, and it's a challenge to navigate my day. So again, thank you, and I please support the bill.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the witnesses? Seeing none, thank you all. Do we? Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Lowe.
So it seems that the bill before us is actually making permanent standard time, not daylight savings time. From what I can gather, though, public opinion is twice as many people poll wanting permanent daylight savings time, the exact opposite of what you've proposed. You mentioned a little bit how we've done that in the past and the challenges that would be with that. Do you have any information or data that you'd like to share with mood temperament in the evening for people who are seeing darkness at 5:30?
Yes. I mean, it's a trade-off, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have been on this course, right? I think what I would say about that is we use light boxes to treat seasonal depression in the winter. In the morning, they're more effective in the morning. So we know morning light, scientifically, is better for people's mood. I also want to bring attention, there was a major poll this month, and it was interesting because the 3 values that Americans wanted the most were for their kids to be safe when they went to school in the morning in the dark. They also wanted to make sure their commutes were safe. They wanted to make sure they were getting enough sleep, and they wanted to make sure that their body and brains were aligned with natural rhythms, with the outside world. So the values that permanent standard time would promote are what the values of Americans want. And I think that's a very important poll.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions while we're out of session for the witnesses? If not, we'll go back into session, and thank you all very much. Senator Campbell, do you have any other comments, or do you care ready to close?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to close, so while this may seem like a trivial issue, the science shows us just how problematic these changes are and why it's in our best interest to move to permanent standard time when our geographical neighbors do the same. I ask you for your favorable vote.
I may have jumped the gun on that a little bit. I think Senator Yeager may have a question or a comment.
I do. Thank you very much. I do have some questions, Senator Campbell. I'm going to vote for the bill to get it out, but but there's some issues that need to be worked on before we get to a full Senate vote. First of all, I thought that the Senate has already passed a bill like this. Your predecessor, Senator Dickerson, carried that bill. I thought we passed that bill. That we've passed this bill already. I want to hear from Senator Campbell.
So thank you for the question. My understanding is that, as I said in my comments to begin with, that it was a bill in 2019 to which you're referring, and that bill doesn't require that requires federal action. Our proposed bill does not require federal action, so that's the difference.
Right. And the other question, if I may, Mr. Chairman, is that I will use a little community from my district, the town of Jellicoe, which is in Tennessee and Kentucky. And I don't think that Kentucky has adopted the proposal you have, so I would have the little town of Jellicoe, half of it on one time and the other half on another time. So and I don't know, I'm sure that there are other little communities along, I now have several counties on the state line in the upper Cumberland, and they are still new to me and I'm learning, but I would imagine there could be some communities along the state line there where they're spread over, and you're going to, here's the question, how can we fix this problem for these communities that are split over state lines, and then they would end up with two times, I don't think that'd be good. So that's something I'm going to ask you when we get to the Senate floor about it.
You're
That's
recognized,
my
Senator
Jellicoe
Campbell.
question.
I know what your answer is, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for that question, and that is an excellent question. I agree with you completely, which is why this law would only go into effect if Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, and North Carolina exempt themselves as well.
Is that being all the states that are contiguous?
Yes, sir.
Except for
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lowe.
Thank you.
The current bill that just passed the U.S. Senate, though, makes daylight savings time permanent, which is the exact opposite that we're seeing move in the federal legislation. How would we reconcile if the federal continues down the path of permanent daylight savings time, and here we are trying to protect standard time?
Yeah, just one of our rules in here, just so you know, if it's a conversation going between both of you, just to save time, as long as order's maintained, we'll let you
Thank you, Mr.
respond
Chair.
and ask questions.
Just wanted to be respectful of your
Sure.
protocol. Yes, no, that's a great question. So, it hasn't passed and completely, and daylight saving time, obviously, the health benefits of going to permanent time are very clear. I mean, we have a lot of research that shows us that that's clear. So, so this is advocating for the most healthy thing for Tennesseans.
Follow up, still kind of, the question was more specifically to how would we reconcile. The Senate did pass it. I think they're waiting on House action for permanent daylight savings time. It seems it might create a quagmire. I guess I'm looking for clarity on if we went to standard time and the U.S. passed permanent daylight savings time, what kind of conundrum could that put us in?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I mean, as I understand it, this would require our adjacent states to pass this before it would be applicable. So I suspect if we're in that situation that we would be reassessing it, regionally to begin with.
Okay, Senator Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned several of the states that surround Tennessee, but you didn't mention Arkansas or Missouri. I know there's a huge population just across the river in Mississippi River in West Memphis, Arkansas, in Marion County.
If I left Arkansas out, that was my mistake, because it's
Okay.
definitely on my list here,
and
so I
of course,
apologize.
we touch with
And-
Missouri up in the northwest part of the state as well. So.
And Missouri is as well, yeah, sorry.
Okay, so those were two you left out.
Yes, that was
Okay.
reader error. I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that all the questions? We're going to get ready to vote on this. I am going to point out, if any of you wonder why some of the crazy things that comes out of the legislature, I think we now have an explanation. Those of us that live in the east of Tennessee, we fall back on Mondays and spring forwards every Wednesday, so we go through this twice a week. That the rest of the that everybody else does just once a year. So that maybe that explains some of the things that happen.
We finally have.
Now we finally got that figured out. So thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Call the roll.
Senator Jackson? Senator Jackson votes aye. Senator Kyle? Senator Kyle votes aye. Senator Lowe? Senator Lowe votes next. Senator Pody? Aye. Senator Pody votes aye. Senator Stevens? Senator Stevens votes aye. Senator Wally? Aye. Senator Wally votes aye. Senator Yeager? Aye. Senator Yeager votes aye. Senator Yarborough? Aye. Senator Yarborough votes aye. Chairman Briggs?
Aye.
Chairman Briggs votes aye. Mr. Chairman, the ayes prevail.
So Senate Bill 342 will move to calendar.